Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making a Joke About My Boyfriend's Member in Front of His Friends? I was out with my boyfriend of 3 months and some of his friends were getting some drinks. For some reason, the conversation drifted towards the weird little blue pill machines that you get in some adult type machines. I jokingly said you could do with some of those, just a bit of a dig. His friends found it funny and laughed for a bit, but his face suddenly turned from a smile to sour. From this point, I'd like to make it clear that he doesn't suffer from any issues down there, as far as I'm aware. He sat with an irritated expression for an hour, shrugging off anyone's attempt at asking him what was wrong, and ignored them and me for the remainder of the evening. When we arrived home, I got a bunch of snarky texts. The first one saying, not a normal thing to say to someone, but okay. Obviously, I knew what he was talking about. I gave him the benefit of the doubt that this joke may have actually offended him, so I apologized as best as I could. Unfortunately, he did not accept my apology, and I received another long series of texts explaining how terrible I was for trying to convince his friends that he may be impotent. Alright, OP. Well, the thing is, you have to know your audience when you're making a joke. And in this particular case, he did not find the joke very funny. And, that's just it, is that you made him the butt end of a joke where, on a topic that many people are sensitive about. And so I imagine that this was probably what hurt him. And, this is just kind of the reality of the situation. I think that he has every right to be hurt. I don't know that I think he should be sitting down and talking to you about this problem. But, I also can't necessarily say that he is wrong for being offended. Again, I really honestly think that he should have just sat down, had a conversation with you and said, hey, can you just not make jokes like that? Because it seems like no one was holding it against him. I would personally err away from any kind of jokes about stuff like this, just because it's so easy that they can turn bad so quickly. Because these are very sensitive topics. So anyhow, take care and good luck. You're the jerk. I feel like don't make fun of your boyfriend's member in front of his friends has to be on page 1 of the boyfriend manual. Then someone replies, did they take it off the cover? You can always assume that you're the jerk by default if you make a joke about someone else at their expense and they don't like it. You owe him an apology, but he doesn't owe you to immediately accept one. And then someone says, especially if it's about their body. That's a good point, and that's certainly, they aren't immediately required to reconcile, and if this has really hurt him and he needs some time to kind of sit and think about it, that's perfectly fair. All right, our next letter is titled, Will I be a jerk if I encourage my husband to ask his parents to change their will? My husband has a brother and a sister, and we're married with kids. My in-laws own a lakefront cottage and a home they live in. They hadn't used their cottage in years. Brother-in-law lives closest and he uses it. He does the upkeep on the house and deck, puts the dock and boat in and out. Sister-in-law lives 1 hour away and visits 4 times a summer. She doesn't do work, but pays for pizza, beer, and deck furniture. We live 2 hours away and usually go to Disney, but couldn't. Last summer, we went to the cottage for a weekend with my husband's siblings. Brother-in-law brought the food, did the cooking, and cleanup. Sister-in-law gave $75 for groceries, but we didn't. We were there only 2 nights and have 1 child compared to 3 and 3 for brother-in-law and sister-in-law. Also, my husband pointed out that they really didn't buy any extra food for us. We also offered to pay for larger expenses, see below, and were refused. They did all the cleanup before we realized they were doing it. We did tidy up our bedroom. I sound like a jerk, but it's a dated cottage. There's no hot water, no shower, it's small, there's no air conditioner. It could be a really nice place if some money was put into it. I don't feel that brother-in-law and sister-in-law see the potential in this house. It needs hot water heater, shower, central air, and extension so we can have our own space. My husband and I would like to pay for this. If it were nicer, we'd be able to rent it out and make back what we put into it. This is what we do. We own homes, split them, and rent them out. We saw Airbnbs in the area getting $300 a night. The upgrades could be all paid for in 3 summers of rentals. Then it would be a beautiful cottage for all of us to enjoy or rent out as we pleased. This would save brother-in-law from having to spend so much free time and money doing it. Sister-in-law and brother-in-law hate the idea. They want it to stay the way it was when they were young. They said that they don't want to share their shoreline with different renters each week, even though there's lots of room, and it's also my husband's shoreline as much as theirs. There were over 10 of us in there, and there was a lot of room on the shore. My husband spoke to my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and they said they'd allow us to do all the upgrades as long as it's okay with brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They're elderly and just want an easy life with no drama. In their will, my husband gets the home they currently live in, and brother-in-law and sister-in-law share the cottage. I don't feel that my husband's siblings see the potential in this house. Once the updating is paid for, we'd obviously share the profits with them and divide the weekends there between us and the renters. We aren't doing this only for the money, but to help his family have a nicer place. Every house needs updates, and if they're not going to do it, then the house will fall into disrepair and be no use to the next generation. So my husband decided to speak to his parents about changing the will. He's their favorite child, and our son is named after father-in-law. He's going to ask for the cottage and have his siblings share the other house. Will I be the jerk if I encourage this? All right, OP. Life isn't always about money, and certainly there might be a lot of potential to this place, but it sounds like your sister-in-law and brother-in-law like the place as it is. They like the idea of going to camp in this place that doesn't have running water or a heater or any other things. They want it to be this way. And that's their preference. You might not be into this, but some people are into this. And while you can't see its value as it is, they see plenty of value in it, and they see the sentimental value in it. They don't want to do this. If they did, then they would totally take you up on that offer. But this isn't something they want. And for you to try going behind their back like this, and abscond with this cabin that you rarely use, just because you want to see it upgraded and updated, I think is a pretty gross thing to do. They enjoy the place, they want the place as it is, so why go and mess up a good thing as it is? If someday they change their mind, then your offer will still stand. It'll still only take a couple of summers to redo that. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion there. I think that you should leave well enough alone. Anyhow, take care and good luck. You're the jerk. You contributed nothing over the years, even when using the place briefly, have apparently no desire to use it as it is, and appear to be solely interested in employing it to produce money for yourself. Go buy a vacation cottage if you want, and rent it out to make back your investment. Leave the in-laws' place to those who love it. Yeah. You're the jerk. Good grief. Stop your grasping. Buy a cottage that suits you if you wish, or rent one. But don't destroy the memories and ambience for the husband's siblings just because they value different things in life. You and your husband are already exploiting his parents' favoritism. Don't make it worse just to break hearts for your own mean-spirited satisfaction. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for losing it after finding out my wife let her sister and her boyfriend stay at my late wife's cabin? I lost my late wife to brain cancer. All of her life, she was living healthy and always loved spending time traveling and going on road trips. She was always an outdoor person, although she had a demanding career. She had a high-paying job while I was earning just enough money that barely paid the bills. We were married for 5 years. We bought a cabin together that we used for holidays and weekends. After her passing, I couldn't set foot in it for a whole year. Everything was the way she left it. I don't go there often, but only on big occasions when I need to feel close to her. My family suggested I sell it, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. The idea of selling it makes me feel like I was losing her all over again, so I left it as is. I married my now wife 6 months ago. I have 2 stepkids that are filling my days with joy and comfort. But lately, my in-laws have been having issues, specifically my sister-in-law. She lost her job, and she and her boyfriend had nowhere to live. We invited them to our place for 2 months, then my brother-in-law took them in. My wife days ago told me brother-in-law had an argument with his sister and kicked her and her boyfriend out. I asked her when that happened, and she told me about 2 weeks ago. I then asked where her sister and her boyfriend had been staying, and she took her time to answer. I asked what's wrong, and she flat out told me that her sister has been staying at my late wife's cabin for 2 weeks now. I was stunned when I heard, and I asked for more clarification. She said that she gave her sister a copy of the key to the cabin to stay there till she finds a job. Then proceeded to say that she didn't tell me because it wasn't a huge deal. I couldn't help but lose my temper. I told her that she had no right to hide this from me and to let her sister into the cabin knowing how I'd feel about it. She said my reaction was the exact reason why she hadn't told me. I called her selfish and inconsiderate of my feelings, but she argued about wanting to help her younger sister and said that I was selfish for not wanting to help family during tough times. The kids walked into the kitchen. I just stopped arguing and walked out. My wife followed me, and I demanded that she call her sister and tell her to move out and hand over the key. My wife looked shocked, saying she expected me to react this way, but not go as far as demanding that her sister move out, and called me cruel for making her look bad to family. We kept arguing till her sister moved out, and they brought the key. My wife packed her things and went to stay with her parents. She told me that my late wife was obviously more important to me than my family, and that she wouldn't come home till I get my priorities straight. I haven't visited the cabin after her sister left. I haven't been feeling well since these days, and I'm not ready to go see how the place looks. I just need more time to calm myself down to be able to go there. My wife is at her parents' house, and she took the kids with her. I miss the kids, and she won't let me speak to them, which is another problem because my heart literally feels heavy when I'm away from them. I miss them so much and can't stand the house without them there. All right, OP. In this situation, things are really tough, and I think your wife needed to consult you ahead of time about this so that you could at least, figure out what to do in this situation. And, your wife hesitated to tell you what was wrong because she knew this was a big deal. Now, it seems like your wife might even be a little jealous, and feel like you're still clinging on to your deceased wife, and she might feel jealous about that. And I think that a good, healthy round of probably family counseling is going to be at the very bare minimum needed, and probably individual counseling and therapy for yourself. You should take your time to get over your deceased wife's death. I mean, that's a really hard situation, and you've been married to your current wife for 6 months, so I don't know how long you've been dating her for. And the thing is that it seems like you two may have different priorities right now, and they may be fundamentally incompatible. And if that's the case, then you may just have to get a divorce. And it sounds like that might be where this is going anyways. I don't necessarily think that you're the jerk in this situation, and I can understand where your wife was coming from. I think she was squarely in the wrong for doing this without your permission, especially since she knew that you were going to react this way. She is clearly in knowing about this. So it doesn't justify what she did. She wanted to take care of her sister, and I don't know why she wasn't alright with her sister just moving back in with you two. It seemed like that was working before until, she had that fight with her, until she left to move with her brother, and then the fight. So yeah, I think that's a really bad situation. I think that it's unfortunate. You probably feel like you had a sacred place of yours, like, defiled, and I can certainly understand that feeling. And I think if you had had the option of saying yes or no, that things would have been probably a little easier on you. Or you could have set some ground rules, like, don't move anything, don't change anything, I want everything the same as it is. And that might have been a good compromise for the situation. So I think there could have been a way to work this so that it would have worked, and your wife could have told you at the time that this was something that she really wanted and was really important to her. But to just kind of throw it on you and be like, oh, they've been living there for 2 weeks, I think was probably a bit of a shock and a pretty big emotional toll. Took a pretty big emotional toll on you. So honestly, I just can't blame you for being upset here. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Is it too late for an annulment? Not the jerk. I don't normally leap on the divorce train, but yeah, not the jerk, and go down there and see what damage they've done to your cabin. I'm so sorry for your loss. Your boundary stomping, hopefully soon to be ex-wife. It's funny, they always have a reason why they couldn't tell you. It's 'cause they know you wouldn't allow it. She didn't tell you because she knew it was a big deal. Even if the cabin had nothing to do with your late wife, it's your cabin, so it is messed up that she let another person not just use it, but live in it without asking you first. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Howdy folks, I'm Brian, and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a Joke?